Hello, hello, everyone. How are you doing today? I've got my coffee, I've got some supplies, and I'm ready to go. Welcome to today's live stream pop-up art studio with the LivingRoom Community Art Studio here in Oshawa. Now, for folks who are, I don't know where folks might be in the world today. Hello, Shelley. Good afternoon. We've had this really beautiful thing happen. Well, beautiful for some people, I suppose. It's been so incredibly hot and humid over the last few weeks. And today we had this rain overnight. Hello, Lisa. How are you? Oh, it's good to see you, Lisa. How you doing? I was just talking about how Amanda. Hi, Amanda. How are you? Oh my goodness, folks. Welcome. The LivingRoom Community Art Studio community is coming to me. This is amazing. Thank you so much for joining us here. Yeah, this beautiful thing has happened with the weather, and from this hot, humid, kind of heavy weather, it's kind of broken, and there's this beautiful coolness in the air. Now, some people don't like coolness. I'm not a huge fan myself, but it's kind of provided this feeling of a kind of, I don't know, freedom, of feeling like we can breathe again, move around. Hello, Annie. Hi, Annie. So good to see you too. Oh, and Shelley, I'm glad you're good. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I find these shifts in weather, I don't know, they kind of help me shift in attitude and mood as well sometimes. And if anyone out there is feeling like me, I think we needed it. I think I needed it. A shift in climate. Lynn, so good to see you, Lynn. Welcome. For folks in the community who may not be familiar with Lynn, she's an old friend of mine from Toronto, an actor, an artist, and artist is one of those things that for so many of us can be so many different things because it is not a narrow path. Lynn is one of those people who just has so many extraordinary skills and gifts and qualities. I can't wait for folks to get to know her a little bit more. So Lynn, feel free to introduce yourself and chat with folks if you like. And Lisa, doing well. Oh, I miss you too, Lisa. Been thinking about you a lot. I know some of the community council things are getting back together, so you might be getting busy again with a lot of the accessibility and ableism stuff. So my heart is with you, and if there's anything the living room can do to help during this time, please let me know. Yeah, and Annie with the much needed weather shift. Yeah. What do you guys think about the weather shift? And for folks who maybe are not living in Oshawa, who are living abroad, you might be having completely different weather where you're at. So let me know how things are affecting you right now where you're at. And if we can provide a little bit of that relief, just kind of send it your way on a wind, a breeze of coolness, we'll do our best. Oh. Yeah, it's interesting. There's the kind of heat and the heaviness combined with everything else that's been happening in the world. I think today waking up to this coolness reminded me of relief, and how we all need to take moments to take care of ourselves and breathe and take a mini break in whatever we might be doing. And for a lot of us in the community, in all the communities, wherever you might be, we've all come together. There's a kind of a common ground, a common momentum that's been carrying us forward. And just remembering that the activism, the artistry, that pushing towards change, that good work, that good hard work comes along with recognizing when you need a break and when you need to just sit down and do something that you enjoy, that you need to do. And if this is a part of that for you in your day, I am honored. I am thrilled. I'm super thrilled to play a small part in bringing that to you. Safe space always pervades, so a little bit of the spiel. Welcome to the Living Room Community Art Studio. For folks of you who haven't been here before, who might be watching, maybe listening to us in the background, the studio is a place where you can come to create and connect with others through creative dialogue, as well as the things that you're making and producing. We believe that everyone is an artist, so it's not just about those kind of ideas of what fine art is, the kind of things you think of hanging in museums and art galleries, that Eurocentric concept of art. It's anything that makes you feel good or helps you feel better, helps you tell your story, make your mark, maybe raise awareness about yourself and what it's like to be you. That's all a part of creativity. So that could be, traditional forms of creative expression. Maybe it's creative expression using non-traditional tools to do so. Maybe it ties into cultural rituals and experiences you have, or gardening, or baking, or organizing, or tidying. Whatever you need to do today with us, please feel free to do that. And if you'd like to share what you're working on with us, we're always happy to hear. And we're always happy to see, too. We love these pictures. Marilyn. Oh, Marilyn, it's so great seeing you here. Welcome. Oh, my voice is refreshing, calming, inviting ray of sunshine. Well, I don't know about that, Marilyn, but I think seeing everybody here makes me feel very sunny, and especially on a little day where it's breezy and cool, a little bit overcast. Burst of sunshine's always welcome. And the gardens too. Yes, Lynn. We needed that rain. The earth needed a little bit of that rain today. So, and hello, Madison. How are you doing? I see you too. Sometimes I feel like, are you guys familiar with that show Polka Dot Door? I'm beginning to get a sense of what it might have felt like for them. I feel like I should have a mirror without a mirror in it, where I can just look out and say hello to everyone. Oh, maybe the social distancing is beginning to get to me after all, folks. Maybe. Yes, so today I invite everyone to consider what relief looks like to you as you make art, as you express yourself or do your thing. If you don't have much relief in your life right now, maybe taking some time to identify what that might be so that you can make space for it or begin reaching for it. That's not a bad thing either. And what am I going to do today? Well, and I realized I didn't go through the whole spiel. I was thinking maybe I should make a video of the spiel for YouTube or to clip to the top of the Facebook page. Maybe I should get everyone in the community to do their own part in recording it. Like we can do one sentence each or something like that. I don't know. There's always a million ideas. Yeah. Well, I'll do the spiel as I do a bit of a spiral warm-up here. Last week I was lucky enough to be invited to host a live stream on Durham College's Facebook page, and it was just really great. Just nice to be out there in a different way, in a different kind of community. And I revisited Linda Berry's spiral warm-up grounding exercise. And for anyone who is looking for a really simple grounding exercise that you can do almost anytime, any place, this is a great one, because essentially it's kind of just like doodling, just focused, concentrated doodling. Oh, and thank you. Yeah, these are beautiful. These over here, these are one of my favorite tools, and I'm going to be using today. I introduced them last week, and then I never got around to actually using them. So these are sometimes called watercolor crayons. So like watercolor pencils, but they're crayons. So they're a combination somewhere between an oil pastel and a watercolor. So you can use them without water, obviously, and you have a crayon or oil pastel effect. As soon as you take a brush and add a little bit of water, it softens the colors and begins to blend them. What I really love about these is that you can use them on fabric as well as paper. So again, last week got me reconnected with textiles again, and just playing with fabric and embroidery thread and stuff like that. So I'm going to jump in and do a little bit of that today later on. Maybe make a scroll journal or a gratitude scroll, or just, playing with fabric and form today in a way I haven't done in a little while. Lynn, you're so kind. I again want to thank everyone who joins me, whoever you are, wherever you are, whether you're chatting or just listening in the background, whether you watch the live stream or you tune in later on to watch it after we've filmed it. It's a lovely thing to know that I'm not alone, and I hope you're feeling that too. I hope you're realizing and know that you're not alone, wherever you might be. And as our social circles begin to expand again, as we kind of reconnect with some kind of, kind of making this time normal for us. It's still not going to be normal, not for a long time. But I want you to know that you're not alone in that feeling. And just coming together in this time, regardless of when you do it, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And just making that time for yourself. I realized how important, I've reconnected with how important it is to make that time for myself. So I'm hoping that you're experiencing something similar during these times. Coffee is good, guys. It's so good. Shout out to Brew Wizards for keeping me in stock. Okay. I mean, they're not giving me coffee. Like, I buy it like a normal human being. But it's so good. I'm so glad they're there. All right, so the Linda Berry spiral exercise. Just putting pen or pencil or crayon or whatever you might have at hand, center of a page, making that tiny little dot, that center, and then slowly, 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 taking your time, spiraling out. Letting your hand do what it needs to do, being mindful. If your lines intersect every once in a while, not the end of the world, just information about where you're at. Just bring that attention to the page. Such a simple exercise, but such a grounding one. Yeah. So safe space of the studio. What does that look like again? Same kind of guidelines apply here as in the actual space itself. Please, we invite you to be supportive of yourself, encouraging, supportive of one another. There's never been any issues with that. Folks are so incredibly kind to one another. They're kind to other people, but we have problems being kind to ourselves. And that is what we call the inner critic. And if you've got one, you're pretty lucky. I've got a whole choir of them. And they like chiming up all over the place to remind me of all my edges, of all the things I still need to work on. But if you're having trouble with that inner critic, you're not alone. Just reach out, let us know. Let someone in the chat know. Let me know. We can talk back to it if you like. We can help you have that awkward conversation with yourself, or parts of yourself, or parts of other people that have got stuck with you along the way. And the next piece to that safe space, or the accountable space of the studio, of course, is we ask folks that have been using or drinking to come back on another day when they haven't been. And that's an interesting one online because people might think, well, why does that matter? You might see the value in it if you were in a space with someone physically. But I am aware that it can influence a lot of things. It can influence how you hear things. It can influence how you communicate with people if you're communicating with people in the chat. It's not the end of the world. There's no judgment. But we do want to take time to recognize and acknowledge that communicating with one another can be made so much more complicated if someone is in an altered state. And again, no judgment. Come on back another day and be with us. And we can understand one another as best as we possibly can and learn how to be with one another in that space. Of course, there are a lot of folks who use this time and use the studio for recovery and harm reduction. So it's a beautiful, respectful gesture honoring their journeys as well. Such an important thing. And anyone who's ever been involved in a recovery journey or witnessed someone in their recovery journey, you know how precious and it's kind of a sacred, important time. And I kind of move from the assumption that most of the time, 99% of the time, people don't mean to be douchebags. And they definitely don't intend to hurt someone else. Most often it's kind of the casual assumptions that we make about one another and ourselves that other people unintentionally. So it's all tied up in that. And the same could be said for mental health too. If someone is having one of those difficult days and the art doesn't seem to be helping, or if things seem to be getting worse for you, please, please, please reach out and connect with one of those supports that can help you have your best day, whatever that might look like to you. Because you're not alone. And there are a ton of resources out there, a ton of amazing people just waiting and wanting to help you out, provide that support, whatever kind of support it is that you might need. And last, but certainly not least, who can say it with me? If anything happens here that makes anyone feel uncomfortable during the live stream, or perhaps for folks if you're watching afterwards, can you let me know? Don't feel like you gotta suck it up. Don't worry about being a drama queen or king, or don't worry about rocking the boat or airing your dirty laundry. All those kind of messages we've received, or so many of us have received along the way in our lives, that kind of instruct us and train us to marginalize our own feelings. Don't worry about those things. Let me know. Reach out to one of our community members, let them know. And that way, we can work with it and we can teach one another how to be more supportive of others in our community. And it may feel like an awkward conversation at first, but I'm really good at awkward conversations. I mean, that's how we change, right? By getting through that discomfort, knowing that the discomfort ain't going to kill us. Discomfort is something we work through and we manage, we make peace with, we make friends with, and then we can use it to grow and to learn. So never be afraid to let us know, let me know, because I'm accountable too. And I'm certainly not perfect. I don't know if I ever want to be perfect. I think that perfect might be boring. And as an actor, perfect doesn't tell stories. What kind of world if it was a perfect world, there'd be no stories. There'd be no conflict. There'd be no tension. There'd be no interesting movies or TV shows or books, plays. It's how we deal with conflict, I think. How we meet it. Get to the heart of it. That's where the interesting stuff is, the life-changing stuff. Kind of where we are right now as a culture, maybe. All right, so that's pretty much the spiel. Normally I'd say there's coffee, tea at the back of the studio, help yourself. I don't know if there's coffee or tea where you're at, but whatever you have on hand that helps you feel comfortable and happy in what you're doing today, let me know. Oh, nice, Lisa. Awkward conversations. Yes, hooray. They can be so, well, again, that sense of refreshing, that, shift in weather. We hold on to stuff, we wait, we wonder, should I say something? No, it's not a big deal. If you're already thinking it's not a big deal, it's not that bad, chances are it's bad enough. So why not? Why not talk about it if you can? Why not try and teach people what you need to be you? And teach people how they can just play a role in helping things go right. We spend so much time thinking about what doesn't work. Maybe we don't spend enough time thinking about what we do to help things go right and how we can do more of that. And what did I notice as I'm doing this spiral? I think I'm going to wrap it up. Where's my spiral? Yeah. Reminds me of a tree. I love it. I had the same kind of feeling, the experience after last week with Durham College. Thinking this is the tree of my life. And looking in at all the different rings. Yeah, Shelley's saying it's interesting mood-wise. Just in a weird mood. Not happy, not sad, just weird. Weird is not necessarily a bad thing. I spent a lot of my time in a weird mood. Weird, yeah, what can weird mean? Weird sometimes means something is beginning to grow, beginning to happen, a discovery beginning to be made, a transition perhaps, something unsettling but not necessarily bad, right? Like before a seed pops out of the soil with its first kind of growth. I don't know. Perfect is one-dimensional, says Annie. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, meh, yeah, like no one, do we really appreciate perfect? Do we even know what it is? I don't know. In conflict, love is the source of drama. Yes, Lynn, actor in the house. It's something I think we underestimate. We don't consider when we're, all the things we love, all the stories that we love, all the stories we're attracted to, they're, I guess in the best way, mirrors of ourselves, helping us to understand ourselves. But always, it's the tension between things that makes growth and development interesting. And Lizzie, hey, how are you? Lizzie Campbell joining us today. Happy Pride. You know what? Lizzie has been, I hope I don't mind me, Lindsay. I'm just going to give a shout out about your books. Lizzie has, in the last few years, become a published author of some extraordinary children's books. And I think one of them is, you know what? I'm going to turn it over to you in the chat. Could you shine a little light on the content of your books, who they're for, and maybe share a little link? Seeing as it's Pride Month, I think it's a great opportunity to showcase them. Stories about gender-independent youth and kids, and just children's books that really let children be themselves and have conversations with folks about being themselves. I love it. Hello, Wendy. Oh, it's good to see you here. And let's see. Yeah, and that's a good point too, Lynn. Like that weirdness that Shelley might be feeling. This is a very weird time we're all sitting in right now. An introspective time, like you're saying, the inner warrior in you appears. Yeah, I think I can relate to that. Absolutely. I was talking to someone just yesterday about that, and not so much about the inner warrior, but the weirdness of time. And if we think about it, it's only been 3 months since the world kind of changed. And to expect ourselves to adjust in that time, to get on with things, to not feel at least a little bit weird every day, that to me would be very weird. Because things have like shifted in such an interesting and dynamic way, like I've never seen before. Yeah, so it's interesting. And weird is the unexpected, the surprises. That can be both, can be lots of different things, neither good nor bad. And Lizzie's good. And yes, please, Lizzie, share, if you could share the links in the thread. Every week when folks come on, it's so nice to see what they're doing. And I'm not talking about your books in the best way. I think you can really focus a clear spotlight on them. And Rhonda here. Rhonda, are you out there? It's good to see you, Rhonda. Welcome. I'm not the only one. Lynn would love to see too, Lizzie. So if you can share a link to where we can purchase their books and read more about them, that would be amazing. And again, artists that I've got to know through the living room that I wouldn't have otherwise had a chance to meet. I am thinking like I'm just like so freaking lucky. The Herbaceous. Okay, so Lizzie, my books are for kids. There's a series I'm doing called Herbaceous. The boy made of cheese. He goes on lots of different adventures. My Forgetful Mom is another book on its own, and it's about moms feeling overwhelmed. And what really matters is the love we have for our kids. Oh my goodness. That's amazing. Yeah, please share. Share away. All right, I'm going to put this aside, my little spiral, my little tree, and I'm going to come back to it and incorporate it into my next project, I think. Yeah. Oh, cool. So share, yeah. Lizzie will be sharing a link for the Amazon page with us. That's amazing. Thank you. Now, I don't know, for those of you who saw the picture, this is a project I made, I think, originally with Trent University, doing a group with those folks. And really it's kind of scroll situations. So using fabric and paper and odds and ends, just layering up bits and pieces on a backing that can be rolled and tied up. Carried with you, thrown in a bag if you like, or hung on the wall. So just using scraps. And again, during this time on the never-ending tidy that I'm trying to do of my office, I just stumbled across it. I think we might have done a workshop for this in the studio too. I seem to have memories of that. But again, what you see on the outside of this canvas is a great demonstration of what these watercolor crayons can do. You might not have watercolor crayons at home, and that's okay. Whatever you're working on, whatever you feel, just go with that flow and do what makes you feel good, do what helps you feel better. If you'd like to do something like I'm doing, play with whatever materials you have on hand. Use paper, fabric, bits and pieces of, whatever. You don't have to use watercolor crayons. You can use watercolors, you can use paint, you can use markers. You can just use ballpoint pens if that's all you got. And if all you have is the fabric or paper to make the base with, that's okay too. So I'm going to set this aside for now, and I'm going to start work on my base. Oh, thank you, Lizzie. Lovely. So please, yeah, during this time, I think it's if we can support one another in the small ways and the little ways, it's such a helpful thing. I mean, so many of us here who are watching are artists in one way or another. Some of us, it's what we do to make a living. Others, it's maybe what we do for pleasure or wellness. Whatever the reason that you do art, it can be a beautiful thing to support other people in their journeys and to be supported yourself when the time arises. Again, it kind of tied into that idea of supporting local, the artists in your community, the artists in your province, building up that support for one another and being able to value one another's work, value one another's voices. Let's see here. Okay. So just simple piece of cotton, I think I found when I'm going through my office again. It's a mystery. There's things in there I have no idea how they came into my life. But I'm certainly glad they did. This was one of them. And I'm going to start just by doing a bit of doodling and filling this piece with color. Lizzie has a poetry book too. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, we got to catch up. Everyone, let's check up. Let's see what's happening. Hello, Lindsay. Welcome to the live stream. Oh. Now some of you, it's this weirdness, the time, the weird, the strange, that is neither good nor bad, happy nor sad. It can feel unsettling. How do you guys deal with that feeling of being unsettled. Is there anything that folks do out there that we'd like to share with one another? I know sometimes for me it's as simple as just giving it a name, acknowledging it, just saying hello to it. Because I think there's a part of my brain that wants to pretend sometimes like it's not happening. And you know, that's never good. I'm not very good when it comes to tricking myself. And sometimes that feeling of being unsettled is not a bad thing. So just saying hello to it, I find can be helpful. Naming it. Hey, Lindsay Beth. Welcome. Yeah, meditation. Meditation can be such a powerful tool. What kind of meditation do you folks do? Like Lizzie bringing the meditation piece up. I think at one point in my life, I thought meditation was just one thing, like the cross-legged kind of Om kind of meditation, or sitting with your thoughts silently for an exhaustive period of time. Of course, now I know that is, I mean, although that can play an element in some meditation processes, it's not the only one. And I don't think it should ever feel like a battle with yourself. I think, again, there's a process of recognizing and naming and letting go so that you can be present, I suppose. Yeah. If folks have favorite meditation practices that they would like to share, that would be amazing. Or links to different meditation processes or techniques that you've found helpful in your own life, that would be amazing. Yes, mindfulness. Thank you, Lizzie. That sense of being present, which can be a strange concept these days as well. We can be present with ourselves. But I think depending on how we interact with one another, that idea of presence, how we are present with one another, it can shift, can't it? It changes. Context is everything. Walking in nature, yes, Wendy. Yeah. It's no surprise to me, but like how much in so many people's lives I'm hearing, I'm learning, I'm seeing the role that nature plays for us, what it gives us. For some people, they've always incorporated nature into their daily practice. What a strange thing to say. They've made time for walks. They've made time to just go outside and breathe for a few minutes. For others, like myself, I kind of lost connection with that while I was super, super busy at the studio. Hello, Nikki. So nice to see you. What am I using? I am using watercolor crayons. Yeah, I think you've used them before at the studio, Nikki. So like those cross between oil pastels and crayons, then you add water and you can blend and move the colors. So I'm using the watercolor crayons on fabric today. But as I was saying, you can use anything you want if you're tagging along and making your own scroll. Hello, Madison. Come on, scroll, Mary, scroll. Madison says, grounding yourself by looking at trees, being outdoors is great. Yeah, and doodling, absolutely. Lately painting my nails a lot and mixing my own colors. Okay, my niece taught me this as well. The world of nail art is extraordinary. There's so much going on there. I just got shorty nails, so I can't do that much. But there is something really beautiful playing. It's like tiny, tiny little canvases, and the mixing of colors. It's a chemical, extraordinarily like artsy experience. There's so much out there right now. It's amazing. So yay to painting of nails. Again, the nature thing. Yeah, when I had time again to go for walks with Alice, my dog, and just like that's the one thing great thing about having a dog, I have to say, because my cats don't force me to go outside. My cats are quite happy to stay inside all the time, but taking Alice outside, it truly is Alice taking me for a walk, I think. And then going outside in the evening and looking at the sky, since things have been more quiet and everything's slowing down, things just seem more vibrant now. They seem so much more precious now that I'm giving them time and allowing them to take space in my life again. Don't know about you folks, but that's been a beautiful side effect of this time for me. And I don't want to let that go. Don't want to let that go. And Lynn, yeah, interesting. Loving drawing trees right now. So relaxing to the spirit. It's amazing how many people I've seen like you, Lynn, and I don't know if this was always a part of your creative practice, but being drawn back in to creating inspired by nature. So leaves, flowers, trees, landscapes, skies, clouds, abstract or realistic, representational, doesn't matter. It can be the impression of these things. But in so much of the art I've been seeing shared within our community and online, I'm noticing that nature has taken center stage again and so much of what people are doing. Oh, Nikki happy birthday, Nikki. Happy birthday. Yeah. Oh, nice. So Nikki's using a new material, a new medium that sounds amazing. Ink Tense. Ink Tense. I got to check that out. It turns anything into art on fabric. Yes, I did use the fabric crayons. Made something there, designed for your bag. If you still have that bag, I'd love to see it. And I love the conversations around. So what are we sharing? Mindfulness or meditation techniques that we enjoy in our own lives, that we practice within our own lives. And again, as always, if there's stuff that people are making, if there's new mediums you're enjoying working with or returning to, rediscovering, please share. It's one of my favorite things about Wednesdays, hanging out and hearing what people are working with or on. And I realize that not everyone has access to fancy stuff like this. And that's okay. Maybe you've been playing with pencil crayons or pens or dabbling with food color, painting with coffee. That's an exciting one. Oh, that's okay, Lizzie. Go for a walk. How timely. So, Lizzie, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to check out all your stuff. Thank you so much for sharing those links with us. And yes, happy birthday, Nikki. And for everyone here, again, we welcome you to be here, to hang out with us, to do what you want, do what you need to do. But you're allowed to, encouraged, in fact, to do what feels right for you. So if that's visiting for a few minutes and then going doing your other things, that's okay. If you want to pop in and out throughout the time, you can do that too. If you want to have us on in the background and not create or participate in the chat, just listen. That's all right. You do you. You are the boss of you, an expert in how you feel. Paying attention to that and listening to that, honoring that, such a huge part of feeling healthy, feeling alive. And one that not all of us were taught how to do when we were growing up. Bye, Lizzie. Yeah, I find reading for me is something that is very meditative. I know it's not really kind of a typical or traditional form of meditation, but it's one of those times where my mind, or something about how I work, my brain gives myself permission to just focus in on that one thing. And the way I like coming out of reading a book for an hour or so, I feel remarkably refreshed, remarkably grounded. It's like everything else just disappears. So even though my mind isn't necessarily empty of thought, I feel like it helps focus me and provide some kind of clarity that not a whole lot of other stuff does. And if I go through a long time without reading, I begin to feel it. So I try to build reading time into everything I do. I suppose music as well. Who out there uses music for meditation or mindfulness? I think listening to, there's certain albums that I listen to from start to finish, and it helps. Unlike listening to the radio or having a playlist, like it's something on in the background where song after song just randomly comes on, something about listening to an entire album by someone from start to finish and the way that they've organized it seems to help ground me and focus me as well. And maybe it's simply that we just don't listen to music in that way anymore. So I listen in a different way. I notice in a different way. Definitely, those things also bring me a feeling of relief, tying back into that first idea, that first thought off the top of today's live stream. Well, maybe that's a good question to ask too. What brings folks relief? What helps you? What helps you unwind? What helps you shift into a better space? Yeah. Bedtime, Lynn, absolutely. Bedtime reading is the best. Yeah, and this time has given us an opportunity to, like, well, some of us who aren't working essential services or working full time in those positions, an opportunity to do a little more intensive reading if we have the time. Again, if folks are out there, if you have any titles you'd like to share with the community, please feel free. I love that these live streams kind of turn into little resource lists for folks where we can check in on one another, learn about what one another are doing, enjoying. It's a lovely thing. How many people out there find the act of creating like a meditation? For a long time, as I was saying, I thought that meditation was only one specific thing. And I think really things got cracked open for me when I was in Montreal, actually learning about art hives. Montreal. If anyone from Montreal is watching or listening, hello. Yeah, I remember one day working, I think I was in Mile End in Montreal, and working with someone who was a poet, and we just ended up sort of passing, it was like a poetic version of Exquisite Corpse, where you kind of add on to what one another are creating without knowing entirely what the other person has created. So at the end, it's only at the end of the exercise where you see the completed piece, the full piece. And that process alone was incredibly relaxing. Something about it just letting me be in the present moment without overthinking things too much or getting caught up in too many ideas. Madison saying, my favorite meditation lately is probably, ooh, Affectionate Breathing by Kristen Neff. Oh, I love Kristen Neff. Also, my own version of lake meditation. Visualizing being in water is calming for me. I don't think you're alone there. A lot of folks that helps. I love music for sure. And you got a crystal singing bowl recently. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, the sound of a singing bowl and that invitation to just listen to that resonant until it's that feeling, it's like that sense, that felt sense, isn't it? Of the sound penetrating your body and being a part of you physically somehow. It's so extraordinary. So I love that. So I'm going to check out Affectionate Breathing by Kristen Neff. If you want, Madison, if you want to share a link here for that, I'm sure there's going to be other people in the stream who would love to know what that's all about. Please, please, please do. Truth and Beauty by Ann Patchett. So this is a book, I think. Anything written by Ann Patchett. I'm not familiar with Ann Patchett as an author. I'm going to have to check them out too. Truth and Beauty. That's a great title. Truth and Beauty. Not always the same thing. Huh. Let's check it out. And Annie saying, yeah, even just blending colors. Again, the artful meditation. Blending colors, drawing patterns. Also, old movies. Interesting. The old movies, huh? There's, yeah. Do you think old movies bring you comfort because of the nostalgia factor? Or do you think that perhaps there's something else going on there? Perhaps the quality of film, which we don't often see it in that way, in the same way anymore. Visual storytelling of that medium in the world of film has changed so much. I think there are things that happen when we absorb ourselves or let ourselves watch something. Things that happen with our brains that we're not always aware of. But revisiting old movies, old forms of storytelling. The thing that I find interesting about revisiting older pieces is that the slowness of things, really, compared to things that are told today, how fast-paced and energetic and dynamic and quick cut and just constantly moving. I do enjoy a good film or TV show that takes its time and just lets you live and breathe with the characters without rushing to indicate too much, where you can watch and learn about the world and the characters that inhabit it just through watching, not necessarily through being told who things are or like what they're doing. Yeah. And Shelley says, yes, if I'm having a bad day, I draw and it helps me. Yes. It's a strange thing. It may not feel like a lot, but taking a little bit of time, a little bit of space to make some lines, some shapes. I remember Annie, I think Annie was one of the people that introduced me to Zen Tangle or Zen Doodling, that idea of the repetitious, like the repeating pattern, just sort of immersing yourself and focusing on line and shape and the repetition of that, just sort of calming, grounding, very similar to the spiral. And Marilyn. So Marilyn, since becoming a foster mom, I haven't had time to create anything. Oh, I need to find time as I'm really missing it. Well, it sounds like if you've recently become a foster mom, yeah, you're busy doing the foster mothering things that one does. Creating safe, welcoming, loving environment. That's its own intense experience and a creative one too, I imagine. Making time for yourself is important though. But I think sometimes we throw it around like, just make time for yourself. The truth is that can be extraordinarily difficult. And it does take being forgiving and of yourself, gentle with yourself, compassionate with yourself. It will come, doing the things that make you feel good in the moment, even though they might not be the kind of self-care that you once knew. Finding to be able to appreciate the moments when they arise, even if it's a short moment, even if it's a minute or 2 minutes, or the time you're here with us today. That, milk every moment of self-care you can. It doesn't necessarily need to be an hour or 2 hours. It can be 5 minutes. It can be a look out a window, a moment of stillness. And I think that's where mindfulness really comes into its own. But definitely, I think sometimes within popular culture, it's easy to make self-care and creation, like creating art, something we make it sound so casual, like it just happens. And I think it's the opposite. I think all of us, it's a choice. It's setting aside time, and we're not always able to set aside time. So please be gentle with yourself. I'm not the boss of you, again. But I wouldn't want you to beat yourself up just because you haven't had time to create recently. That time will be there, and it will come. And who knows, maybe it will look like something entirely different. Maybe it will involve your foster child, right? Maybe there's something there, some kind of collaboration that can occur. It's a beautiful thing, learning about one another. And the time might find you. It might surprise you a bit as well. And then, then revisiting movies. The nostalgia does play a part, Annie, yeah? And the physical humor, and they move a little more slowly. Love the quirkiness. And black and white films. So black and white, like storytelling of that nature that is a skill, an art form in itself. And I wonder if sometimes we don't often see, I guess, black and white photography or filmmaking. It's not necessarily a part of the common cultural experience anymore. It has been removed to kind of fine art worlds and things like that. That's interesting. Yeah, for me, the slowness, just slowing the storytelling down a little bit. I feel like there's a great concern in the world of creators of content, whether it's film or TV, that they're going to lose their audience. I don't know if that's the case. Good storytelling, if you have a good story to tell, you won't lose your audience. You just won't. But that's dipping into the world of film and TV. Perhaps a conversation for another time. Many thoughts and feelings about that world. Many. So the baby, so a foster baby, Marilyn. Oh, yeah. There's an art therapist that I really adore, and I was able to meet her a few years ago at a conference. I hope she's still with us. Her name, I think, is Lucille Prue. And she has these fantastic not exercises, just things to do with really young kids. I think ways of creating that are in some ways more for the parents than for the kids. Because again, kids, you don't need to tell them twice. They just create. They just get going. Show them stuff, whatever stuff it might be. Pillows, blankets, spoons, pots, pans. They get going. Usually it's the parents who have kind of expectations of what they want these new little people in their family to do and the way they should do it. Paintbrush. There you go. Hello, paintbrush. I'm going to start blending some of these colors. One of my favorite exercises that Lucille did was with sticky paper. So contact paper, or I ended up using, don't tell FedEx, but you know those labels, those big labels for packages where you peel off and it's really sticky, transparent and really sticky? I use those, and you just find bits and pieces and odds and ends. It could be anything like dried pasta or feathers, sand, dirt, whatever, grass, and you just kind of throw it on the page and it sticks to the sticky label backing, and you create art that way. So you don't necessarily need to manipulate or like any kind of medium. You're just arranging things on the surface or letting them land and creating, just having this accidental, spontaneous creation. And I can't tell you how much fun it is to create that way. So next time you go by FedEx or someplace like that, just go in looking really official, like you have a lot of packages to deliver, and just grab a bunch. Just a fun way to play and create. Frees your brain. It's great. And you can both create together if that's something that's of interest, depending on how old the baby is. There is a point where the creative process is just about building that relationship, right? And that is an art form. So you are being creative, just in a different way, a relational way. Hey, Lottie, welcome back, Lottie. It's good to see you. How are all the arrangements for school going on? I think last time we checked in, you were in the process of, was it registering for college or for university for a program so that for creative writing? I think, yeah. Oh, you've just woken up from a nap. Well, it is much later there in the UK than it is here, so that's understandable. Thanks for joining us. I think it's later. Is it later? Or is it earlier? Oh man, time and me, not so good, not so good. And Annie, back to film again. What a dynamic conversation. So old films, nostalgia, slow storytelling, the glances, the music, the ominous moments. And you often in memories end up seeing colors. What? Tell me more. So do you mean, because this is an interesting thing, we experience something in one way, and then in dreaming or kind of like that unconscious, subconscious state, we end up re-experiencing them in a new way, adding things to them, subtracting things, they become our own stories. So you add colors. Or are you someone who sees colors or experiences colors in different ways? Like people who might, like synesthesia. Oh, what's that word, guys? Can my mouth say it? Synesthesia. You know what I'm trying to say, folks. Synesthesia? Is that it? Did I get it right? Coffee. Synesthesia. There's someone out there who knows the word I'm trying to say. If you would like to type it in so people can see and understand, that would be fabulous. I think it's the experience, not a condition, but another way of interpreting the world and gathering information that a certain percentage of our population has, where perhaps they experience one thing through an unexpected sense. Yes, thank you, Annie. Oh, interesting. So yes, so sort of in that area. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Annie. If only I could hear you shouting it out at me. Yeah, so you might hear colors, or you might taste, I don't know. Yeah, like you experience things through an additional or an unexpected sense. Hearing numbers. There are many different ways that people experience synesthesia. That word, synesthesia. Guys. Oh, it's a really fascinating thing to research. If you haven't heard of it before, yeah, it's just another remarkable way that some people's brains work. And again, not necessarily good or bad, just different. So that is something that can come into play. I wonder if that's something our brains do when we sleep. If they kind of dip into those territories from time and again. Let's blend these colors. Let's see what they're doing. So once again, I've given myself an activity that requires drying time. And I'm not going to freak out. I'm just going to spend my time doing this. Making my scroll. So the conversation today has ranged from shifts in weather, because Lottie, who's just joined us, I'm not sure what it's like over there, although I heard that today was very, very hot for some folks in the UK. Here in Oshawa, at least, we had a break in the weather, and it's been beautiful and cool, unexpectedly cool. And with it has kind of come this sense of relief and being able to breathe again. And maybe just a pause, a reminder to pause and take a break. And the good work that all of us are doing, all the good change that we're hoping to make happen within ourselves, within the world. I thank you. Interesting, Annie. So that your teachers thought you had synesthesia, but very mild. Yeah. It's interesting. Sometimes it is confused or mixed up with color blindness, isn't it? Because if you're interpreting external stimuli in an unexpected way, different from other folks in your class, I understand how that could happen. So talking about relief, talking about shifts in temperature, talking about wellness, making space for wellness, meditation, active meditation. So different ways of meditating other than sitting and thinking or not thinking, which for some of us is really hard. Really, really hard. I have to trick myself into not thinking sometimes. Hello, Alpha. Alpha's watching. Nice welcome, Alpha. And thank you to everyone, all the folks out there who are greeting and welcoming people who are signing on to today's live stream. As some of you may know, I can't always see, just from how I'm using these devices, it's not always apparent to me who joins the live stream, what they might be watching, when they might be watching. I can only see people when they join the chat. And it's either good, it's good either way. You don't have to contribute to the chat, you don't have to join in. Do what feels right to you. And I know for some folks it's just easier and simpler to focus on other things while we're on in the background, or to watch and just enjoy seeing whatever it is I happen to be doing take shape during the time. All of it's good. But I do appreciate when folks are able to say hello and welcome new people, new names, perhaps familiar faces. Oh yeah, so Marilyn was asking what I'm using to create this. I found a piece of cotton, and I guess last year sometime, I started experimenting with watercolor crayons. And they're not that hard to find. You can find them in art stores. For us, that in here in Canada, that might be Curry's, could be Above Ground Arts. You can also find them online, many different places. There's a few different brands, but they all act in a similar way. Have really nice, strong pigments. And when you use them when they're dry, they act like crayons or oil pastels, so you can blend them. You have lots of fun with them. And of course, when you add water, it activates them in an entirely different way. So you have that watercolor effect, like you're seeing happening here. And you can continue to build up the color with the oil pastels. Unlike the Brusho inks, the ink crystals I was using last week, where things can get a little muddy when you add things in, this you can still continue to adjust and add highlights to. And in fact, when this dries, I might switch back to just regular oil pastels to layer on some bold colors that won't shift or alter, that'll sort of sit on top of the watercolor crayons. All right. Yeah. Interesting, Madison. So Madison Interesting. Took a clowning workshop a while ago. It was pretty freeing for flops. Flops? Ridiculousness being a key part of it versus perfectionism. Absolutely. Clowning is an entirely separate and misunderstood art form. And I think Lynn Griffin, who's here, might be able to speak to this as well, because I think Lynn is a bit of a clown herself. A clown in the artistic sense. A very, very good one. And clowning, yeah, is often misunderstood. It's, I think we think of like children's TV clowns, goofy clowns that are supposed to make people laugh, but clowning is kind of a distillment of the human experience in many ways, at least as I understand it. And I've only dipped my toes into it ever so slightly through, different things I've done in relation to clowning, like commedia dell'arte and things like that. But I also experienced it to be remarkably freeing. And it's something when you commit to exploring certain kinds of characteristics and in like working with those very specific intentions, you can discover so much more about yourself. I don't know why that is. So those clowning people out there might be able to speak to that much better than I can. But that's interesting. Where did you take? I'd be interested to know who you took the clowning workshops with, Madison. That'd be amazing. And Lottie, thank you for giving me an update. So 8 p.m. where you are, all finished. Just need to wait for my results. Oh, that's right, from the course you're currently on. And in August, my results decide which university you're going to go to. In England, we have to go to college before university. Oh, you know what? I didn't know that. It's a bit complicated to explain. Let's learn about England. We break up for summer next week, and I volunteered to help make a video for our virtual New Student Day. Amazing, amazing. And I won a creative writing award, so I have to attend a virtual awards evening on Monday. Congratulations, Lottie. That's fantastic. Did you know about this the last time we saw you, or is this new? Well, it doesn't matter. Congratulations. Congratulations. And I love the video. If you didn't have a chance to watch, Lottie shared a video of one of the pieces that she created. And I think it's appropriate. It's like in the area of spoken word, which I love. And I think spoken word for me combines, like coming out of the African American, the Black tradition of storytelling and hip hop. And so I think we need to acknowledge that when we talk about spoken word. As Cassandra Myers would say, we are guests in the house of spoken word. And it's just a lovely, extraordinarily powerful combination between performance and poetry, just oftentimes speaking truth in a way that you don't often hear. Just really beautiful and liberating. And yes, Lynn returning to clowning. I am a clown, and was in a show as the clown mother, which you created an image for. I remember, I think you shared it in the coffee catch-up group. And commedia is great too, and mask work and making masks is brilliant. Mask making is another arts area that I find really, it's beautiful and brilliant. And I was talking to a friend who I hope to have on as a guest in July for live stream Tuesdays, where we interview different artists. And with regards to masks specifically, some of you might be familiar with him. He was a guest. He was a participant in last year's our fundraiser, which was inspired by Taskmaster, which is this really super fun show in the UK, created by Alex Horn and Greg Davies. So one of our guests was Anand Rajaram, who's a remarkable actor, performer, activist, but oftentimes his work involves mask of one way or another. Either a physical, could be a physical mask that is, worn, but oftentimes similar to clowning, just a transition, a change of the face to signify otherness in the performance in front of you. And he's someone who utilizes mask in such unexpected and surprising and refreshing ways. I'm super excited about chatting with him about that, and why it is that things like mask, commedia, clown, why they are so freeing, why they are so liberating, and why they are so misunderstood. how in our culture we've kind of reduced them somehow. It's an interesting discussion. Yeah. And Carlos, hey! Welcome, Carlos. So good to see you. Yes, Carlos. England, complicated education system at times. I remember it well. Carlos remembers it well. That's awesome news, Lottie. Congratulations on all the hard work you've evidently done to achieve this. And yes, I forgot to say that too. Congratulations. Going through that process must be remarkably exhausting and but also rewarding. It's obvious, like, you've worked so hard. Congratulations. I hope you get to enjoy some of this break you're experiencing right now and just have some time for you. But obviously you're also helping create the videos, so what does that tell me? That suggests that you are a very giving person and perhaps that you don't like being bored. I think I can relate a little bit to that. Well, it's so new information, Lottie. Congratulations. And Annie, spoken word, so relevant. Yes. It's how many people? Like, you're all going to raise your hands, and I can see you. For those of you who have not or are not familiar with spoken word, I really encourage you to look it up after. There, in the last decade, it's kind of expanded and burst out of its like the more traditional communities within within sort of African American population to expand and involve everyone. Like, so many people of whom are, well, they find there's often some of my favorite spoken word artists are often people who are members of marginalized communities, so that LGBTQ plus or people of color, people, indigenous people, people who have had to make space for their words. And I think it's always interesting that we tend to hear things, and when I say we, I suppose I'm speaking for, well, white peeps like me, white settlers, people of the emerging from the colonizer tradition. Art and is one of the ways we tend to make space for art. We tend to listen to art or see art. We see things and hear things that we wouldn't normally see or hear if it was just someone trying to reason with us. Somehow art breaks through, whether it's a spoken word piece or even a painting or a song. We tend to consume that and absorb it, and ideally, hopefully, we actually receive the information and grow and learn from it. Not always, but entering into, like, listening to a spoken word piece, or, just through that, check it out. Let me know what you think. We have some extraordinarily talented, gifted Canadian spoken word artists. Cassandra Myers is one of them, who I was mentioning before. Just powerful. We have, if anyone out there is listening, if you have your own artist that you're familiar with and want to share, please do. Shane Koizan, I think I'm pronouncing his last name, another artist a Canadian artist that has really found like a huge, enormous following, kind of like a celebrity spoken word artist, at least here. We have Patrick DeBellin, who's a Toronto-based spoken word artist who often works with youth, and the BAM poetry slam that happens in Toronto, that I think has gone online during this time. Patrick's an awesome human being. Yeah, just super cool. Let's see. Also, someone I've discovered in the last 3 or 4 years, a British artist named Kate Tempest. So those of you who may not be familiar with her, heartbreaking, beautiful, extraordinary, really super powerful pieces again, often accompanied by music. So you can buy albums of Kate Tempest's work. There's so many others. And if we go back historically, of course, there were artists performing spoken word. It kind of came out of, I suppose, the beat tradition, Harlem Renaissance. Extraordinary. Gil Heron Scott, I think, is one of the earliest spoken word artists that I became familiar with. And I've listened to his pieces, but I don't know what they're all called all the time. I know there's a wonderful piece called, he created The Revolution Will Be Televised, I think. Maybe? Did he? Was that him? Maybe. If you know him, let me know. Correct me. Keep me accountable, folks. Okay. Do I fill that part up or do I leave it blank? And who knows? Lottie, is that do you think where your heart is? Oh, Kate Tempest. Yes, Lynn. Yes, I'm glad I'm not the only fan here. Yeah. Lottie, do you see that as a part of your future? Do you feel like you are potentially becoming, I don't know, what am I doing? Boxing you in. You do you. Why am I always, it's something that happens when you get older. Why do I want to know what you're going to do with your life? Just do your life. It's all good. I'm not the boss of you. All right, let's put this aside. Oh, it's much drier than I thought it would be. So what I'm going to do now, I think I'm going to create a core. So I don't have any dowlings on hand, but I do, however, have a few pipe cleaners and paper. So I think what I'm going to do is create my own dowling. Yeah. So I'm just going to take some paper and I'm going to roll it to create a little paper straw that can be my dowling. Let me get it really firm. And Lottie. And so Lottie says, Shelley, that's okay. You don't need to be. I think you're, Shelley, apologizing for not really being connected at all today. Connection looks like a lot of different things, Shelley. I think being present, just being is enough sometimes. And that can be connection in its own way. Of course, you know what's best for you. So if it means taking a break for today and going and doing something else, stepping outside for a breath of fresh air, anything like that, feel free. Do what you need to do, what feels right for you. But when it comes to being connected, I think you already are. I think there might be an inner critic there who's judging the way that you're connected and trying to tell you it's not good enough for some reason. I say hello to that critic. And I say, thanks for letting her know. But maybe, sit down, take a break. Being present is enough in whatever way that feels right for you. Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with all of ourselves. All right. And Lottie. Yeah. Interesting. So Lottie, I'll catch up here, yeah. Personally like to use spoken word because in the town I live in has a high amount of people who are illiterate. So by using spoken word, I can share my work to all people regardless of their reading ability. Awesome. Yes. You know what? I hadn't even really mindfully considered that piece of spoken word, how powerful it is, that it doesn't involve cracking open a book and reading something. It can, but it doesn't need to. The story gets shared. The story gets told. Love it. And Lottie acknowledging too. Yeah, feeling it. I think that's Shelley. You're not alone there. Been in bed all day with a stomach bug. Ugh, I'm typing, slowing the normal. Please be gentle with yourself. Yeah. It's interesting how we judge ourselves sometimes for not being the way we want to, or the way we expect ourselves to be, or the way we once were last week, or just be where you are. That's, at least that's what I'm trying to do these days. Just be present with whatever it is you're feeling. Work from there. There was an acting thing, an Alexander teacher I once had. Alexander technique is this weird actory thing. You don't need to know a whole lot about it right now, but one of the things it uses is it invites the actor to use where they are, experiencing what they're experiencing, feeling what they're feeling, as the point of departure for whatever scene we might be doing or character we might be inhabiting. And one of my teachers, Cynthia Ashberger, um, I remember one day, I think, to tell you the truth, the whole class was hungover. I think that's what was happening, unfortunately. Um, and we were all just exhausted and tired. And she said, fine, if you're tired, be tired. Be tired on a beach. Be tired wherever you are in the scene. Start from there. So for those of you who are judging yourselves for not having as much energy or for feeling sick or for whatever, it's okay to be where you're at and start from there. And if that's all, if that's the only thing you can do, if that's the only place you can be today and that feels good, it feels good enough for you, that's fine. Okay? It's fine. And Lynn, we're visiting Lynn. It's interesting. Yeah, that's talking about that aging process. When you're older, it's just sharing knowledge that excites you. You want those who share likes, so enjoy similar things, I guess, to know what's all out there. Yeah, there's an excitement. Like when I see there's exciting things happening in the world, and a lot of them are being led, are being sparked off by younger generations. I'm being a bit ageist here, yes. And perhaps that's just the pattern of history. Perhaps we all look to youth. Perhaps that's just a thing that happens. We look to see the change and the growth, and we're excited when that change or growth happens. We learn from one another, regardless of age. So any new way of seeing through the world, at least personally, like that difference, being able to celebrate and acknowledge the difference is what makes life interesting. And learning from one another and being able to celebrate one another's difference and the discoveries that we're all making wherever we might be, that's so important. Yeah, Annie, relating back to spoken word, kind of like oral tradition, the oral storytelling tradition with that folks can retain and make it their own. It's very, very cool. Spoken word is definitely connected to that too. So it is interwoven with indigenous practices and, well, yeah, from indigenous, from like all the cultures, many cultures. Storytelling, I think for a lot of folks also is one way we learn things. People learn in different ways, but oftentimes we learn through listening. We learn through telling and teaching. Here we go. And that oral storytelling tradition is amazing. And Lynn saying, sharing your spoken word, not your stomach bug. Fair enough. So there are things that we like to share, other things, not so much. Yes, please take care of yourselves, all of us. Let's all take care of ourselves. Let's all do that thing. I've been returning to writing recently as well, I think. And I think one of the ways I understand my writing is when I read it out loud to myself. So I think there is something there. It's different seeing something on the page and then hearing it. It's a beautiful process. Yes, Cynthia Ashberger. Also the Michael Chekhov technique. Yes, Chekhov. And then Lottie Chekhov as well. We've got a lot of Chekhov fans out there. Many different Chekhovs. And Lindsay Beth. Those are some beautiful flowers. Thank you for sharing those. Oh my goodness, it's 3:24 here. Guys, gotten a little carried away again. But that's okay. So coming near the end of this today, the live stream, living room, pop-up studio, hangout. What are the messages, the themes, the things we're going to take away from today, folks? What should we take away with us today to carry us through the rest of the week and into the weekend? What would be good to take away? Any ideas? Anyone want to share? Again, we've touched upon so many lovely, lovely topics. I think relief, noticing the changes, look after ourselves, and stay fluffy. Thank you, Lottie. That's the most beautiful thing. Nature, says Madison. Yes, nature. Absolutely. Connecting, giving ourselves time, a moment for nature, whether it's a breath on a balcony, or a few minutes in the backyard, or a walk in the park in the middle of the night, for those of you who are night owls. And Michelle, hey, nice for joining. Thank you for joining, Michelle, one of our students who will be doing the coffee catch-up this Friday. And Lynn says sharing. Yeah, sharing. Something beautiful happens when we connect and you're making space for yourself and what you need, but also when we give voice to our experiences, you never know who else is on that other side who gets to say, yeah, me too. I'm feeling that too. I'm needing that too. Or this is what I find helps. That sharing piece. It's beautiful. Annie, I'm so glad. So Annie, acceptance from Lindsay. Yes, acceptance. Absolutely. A simple kind of word that's a lot more complicated in reality to apply. But acceptance, making space for things, allowing for things, whatever they might be, knowing that, nothing is permanent. Things change, they grow, they shift. Allowing the good things. And Annie saying, y'all are awesome and have added light to the day. Well, you've added light to our day, Annie. And Shelley says, thanks for being you, Mary. You are encouraging. I try to be, but the thing that matters most is that you are being you. Because when you're authentically you, it allows for all this amazing conversation, right? All these amazing discoveries. And Lottie says, being here today has brought a smile to my face. That's amazing. I'm so glad, and I hope you do feel better, Lottie. I hope you feel better soon. And Michelle saying these comments are such a lovely pick-me-up. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. We're all dealing with stuff, wherever we might be in the world. And again, this sort of comes full circle to some of the stuff we were talking about at the beginning. Just another reminder that we're not alone. Not one of us is alone in what we're experiencing. We might not be experiencing the exact same things in the exact same ways, but there is common ground and there's connection. And where things are different, it's exciting because it gives us an opportunity to learn and grow as humans. Feeling warm and happy, Lynn. That's amazing. Oh, wow. So nice to be in a safe space. Lindsay Beth, thank you. Well, thank everyone for being here and creating that safe space, because that is something that is co-created through everyone who participates, whether you're joining the chat or you're watching or listening to the live stream, or whether even you're watching later on after the live stream is finished. I know it's a strange thing to say, but you're still contributing to the energy of this, whether you realize it or not, because I know you're out there. I'm glad you're out there. And Shelley's saying thank you to everyone. You're amazing. Oh my gosh. Is everyone feeling this? I want you to take a little bit of this with you throughout the rest of your day or your night. Put it in your pocket, shower it over your head, put it in your heart, throw it over your shoulder, pack it in a bag, put it in a sandwich, whatever works for you. I'm glad that you were able to take something away that can make your day a little bit better. And again, thank you folks for being here. Couldn't do this without you. I mean, I could, but it would be me talking to myself, which is really, really weird. So I'm so happy. I am so happy not to be alone. And again, I'm going to continue working on this after this is done. And hopefully, I'll be updating you next week with some pictures. A word about next week. I think I'm going to be taking next week, at least the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. It's a holiday weekend here in Canada. And I'm just going to take a moment for some self-care myself to catch up on a few of the things I've been making so that I can share them with you when I come back. We will still be working with the students though, and we'll still be there throughout the rest of the week with the wonderful activities they have on Facebook. And again, if you haven't had a chance to participate in the activities that happen on Thursday or Friday, please drop by the Facebook page and check them out. Share some of your work. We have lots of cool things, including like a Facebook Messenger Rooms activity. It's something new we've introduced. Every Friday morning, we join together in what we're calling a coffee catch-up, which is it's kind of like a Zoom experience where we can actually see one another's faces, hear one another's voices, and connect in a slightly different way. So you're welcome to join us. That's 9 a.m. Friday morning, 9 till 10 a.m. So I'm not sure what that would be for folks in other parts of the world, but 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Canada. So, guys, have a wonderful, 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 wonderful day. And hopefully we'll see you on the Facebook page for those other activities, including the coffee catch-up. Take care of yourselves. Continue to be awesome to yourselves and to other folks too. And we'll see you again soon. Okay? Bye, everybody.